Steph, can you hear me okay? Are you there?
Yeah, can you get me?
Yep,
You
yep.
got me?
I
All
got
right.
you. I'm just gonna set up your video here and we'll be good to go. Let's make sure we are live on the KFTV side and that we are good. Okay. All right, should we good to go here? All right, here we go, man. Salute to Knicks Nation once again. Happy Friday. Another KFTV NBA report simulcast. CP the franchise here. And we got the great Stefan Bondy, man. Knicks insider from the New York Post. Checking in from Chicago. Steph, how you doing, man? How you feeling, bro?
Good, man. Happy Halloween, man.
Yeah.
You got a disguise? You got something you're dressing up as?
You know what? Not this year. A couple years ago,
Uh,
I finessed. I found this dope adult size War Machine costume. You know, War Machine from Iron Man.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I like to be a little bit different. So I
Uh,
found the Rhodes costume. You know, the puff suit with the mask, with the full mask.
all
And
right.
yeah, we flexed
Oh,
that. And that year, wifey came in as Captain Marvel, and we won the contest. I went to the homie's birthday party and came out with $100, man.
all right, all right. Well, then you deserve a break this year. You
Yeah.
did it up last year.
Yeah. Well, what's your Halloween? What was your Halloween go to as a kid? Like, were you kind of like on the
Dude, I was
safer
big time.
side, or were you throwing eggs? Were you throwing the shaving cream? What were you doing, man?
Nah, man. I was Spider-Man. You talking about when I was a little kid? Yeah,
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
like your teenager 20s, man.
Oh yeah, nah. I didn't
The
dress up. I
destructive
didn't.
phase.
I stopped dressing up.
Okay.
I
Okay.
wasn't a big Halloween party guy, but when I
Yeah.
was a kid, it was Karate Kid and it was Spider-Man.
There
Those
you
are my
go.
two jams.
Yeah,
Yep.
there you go. Can't complain. All right, well, thank God, these guys are kicking off in Chicago tonight because the crybaby and the panic amongst the fan base 4 games in is getting a little crazy. But let's start with the injury report because to me that's very important. Mitchell Robinson, Deuce, Yabusele, where do we stand with those guys?
Yeah, I mean, we actually just talked to Mitch. It's the
Okay.
first time that he talked since I guess he wasn't set, didn't have an injury, but since the preseason when he began this plan for load management that the Knicks are calling it. He didn't shed much light on anything. There was some joking that from Josh Hart. We also talked to Josh Hart. There was some joking that Mitch is going to play, and then he looked at PR like he shouldn't have said that. So if you want to read into that, then he's going to play. But there was no outright like, all right, Mitch is going to go tonight. Don't worry about it. It was more of we'll wait and see, which has been the message all along, including yesterday from Mike Brown.
Okay. How about Deuce? Because as I watch these games, the first 2 games, I've been impressed with his two-way play, both coming off the bench, leading the bench, and as a starter. And to me, we had these conversations in the offseason, like who's going to emerge as a six-man? Is it Clarkson? Is it Hart? Right now, I think it's Deuce. He's very important for this team right now. Where do
Deuce
we
looks
stand?
great. Yeah, Deuce looks great. He's going to play. He had the unfortunate situation where he had a death in the family. He had to go
Okay.
back to Ohio, to deal with that. And so, he's going to play today. And, he's ready to go. Chicago, he's from the area. Chicago's a place where he loves to play. So maybe loses a bit of the rhythm that he had because you're right, he was playing great, but he's definitely an important part of this team.
Now, Yabusele, it's not clear with his knee if he injured it in the Miami game, but either way, is really struggling out the gate here these first 4 games. Any status on him?
He's probable, and he did injure it in the Miami game.
Okay.
He did go through practice yesterday. One thing I do want to push back on with Yabusele
Yeah.
because people are talking about he's overweight and all the.
Oh, hang on, hang on.
Saw this dude with his shirt off. I was like, this dude is not. The dude is jacked, bro. Like you talking about the Incredible Hulk, that's him. So like I don't want to hear that he's like he's too fat and all that stuff. That's not something I see from him.
Yeah. Have you spoken to Brown and the coaching staff, or even Yabusele himself, just in terms of his adjustment, getting acclimated? It kind of seems like it's just not coming together early right now.
Yeah, no, I can't. If we did, I can't remember. There's so many people getting adjusted. We did talk to Josh Hart about getting adjusted today, and he's right. I mean, he said this has been nobody's adjusting more than me. He went from Tibbs, playing 37 point something minutes per game. Now he's coming off the bench. He's not part of the offense as much. He's defending everybody. He's got to learn how to defend 1 through 5. So this has been a big adjustment for him. We're going to talk about the shot and, you know, The finger, I think, is still definitely bothering him. That's a fact, and so that's going to be a problem until it isn't. But in terms of on the court, it's also an adjustment for him.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, the finger, certainly you could see the apprehension for him to shoot. I think Jalen had mentioned it. But I mean, finger or not, that's always kind of been a Josh thing,
Yeah,
where he goes through these periods during the season where it's just not connecting, just his confidence in shooting.
yeah.
And then the playoffs comes and he's around like 38%. He's doing okay. So I just wonder how he makes it through the season. But one thing is clear, the combination with him and Cat has been kind of tricky. Like, I'm looking at them, especially offensively in the Milwaukee game, and a couple of times, Cat's deferring to Josh Hart to bail him out with a three. And I'm like, bro, like, we're paying you $60 million to go get that bucket. What are you giving him to him for? Who doesn't want to shoot?
Yeah, the Milwaukee game was awkward in that this is my take on it. Cat obviously only took one field goal in the first half. The Knicks were up by 12 at halftime. Mike Brown comes out afterwards and says that's exactly what we need from Cat. He was the best player in the first half. Second half, he comes out. He's trying to force the issue. He's trying to say, I'm an all-star. I'm going to score. I think it's unreasonable for the coach, Mike Brown, to tell Cat, the role I want you in is only going to lead to one field goal attempt in a half. Like that's not who Cat is. And if you want Cat to be a decoy, I get it worked in the first half in Milwaukee. I don't think that's the best role for him. So I think there's a give and take happening right now with Mike Brown and Cat in terms of finding the best role for him. It's been a process. I think he's struggled early in this season for sure.
Yeah, and well, first thing, do you think the quad has anything to do with this right now? Because in the Milwaukee game, it did not look like he had much lift. Couldn't get off the ground too much. I mean, the taking off from the 3-point line, it drives me crazy. He's been doing that since last year. I can't stand it. The facing up from the 3-point line and taking it to the basket. But do you think the quad, it might be bothering him a little bit?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I
Yeah.
wish I could
Yeah.
tell you. I really have no clue how bad that quad is or how much it's impacting his game. He obviously said he had a grade 2 strain. I don't know how much that's impacting him. He's not the quickest guy in the world anyway. So, as you said, you don't like to see it when he gets the ball, on the perimeter and starts driving and then he ends up on the court a lot of the times. That's something that was happening before he had the quad injury, but I don't know how much that's impacting him, but you figure if he does have a quad 2 strain, that certainly is hindering his ability to move.
Yeah, and one thing I don't know if you've asked Brown yet, or if you could during this Chicago series. Like there was a graphic that came up on Twitter, and even from last year to this year, the pick and roll combos, the top 10, and Brunson and Cap are nowhere near there. So I'd like to find out. I'm just wondering, where is the two-man game between these two guys, and why, after one full year and now into this early start, do we not see that? What are we missing here in terms of the chemistry between JB and Cat?
Well, you're getting really at the heart of what's going on right now because this is a offense that is not supposed to not rely on much on pick and roll, but it is the best weapon that this team has. And if you have Cat at the four, there's less opportunities for pick and rolls because the center is going to set a lot of those screens. So I think in an ideal world for me, this is my opinion, Cat should be at the five. I think that's where he's best offensively, and he should be running more pick and rolls with Jalen Brunson. Last season, and I just did an article about this, so I remember it's fresh in my mind. They were the number one ranked team in pick and roll efficiency, the Knicks. I think they were averaging 1 point per possession on pick and rolls. This season, it's dipped dramatically, and Cat as the roll man, his efficiency has dipped dramatically. I think when you team up Cat and you team up Jalen Brunson, the vision, and we talked about this last season, was the best pick and roll combination in the NBA. That's what we talked about. So if you're taking that out of the offense, or for whatever reason it's not as effective, I think that's a problem for the offense.
Yeah, no question. Well, in isolation, Cap has certainly looked great. His
Yeah, he's
efficiency
looked
is
great.
there. He's looked very good. And I think McCall is off to a strong start as well. It just seems as though especially I was at the Miami game, watching the Bucks game. Seems as though his usage, his utilization kind of dips as the game progresses. And
Mikal?
if Cat is struggling, I'd like to see them go to McCall a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean he's been great. I mean, if you talk about a guy that should be thriving in this offense, and he has been, is Mikal Bridges and the way he plays. And you're right, though. I mean, we have a running thing on press row where it's like Mikal had a great first half, but I bet you when we look at the box score at the end of the night, it'll
Right.
be right around the same
Same.
amount of points that he has at halftime. So yeah, yeah, that we're seeing the same thing.
Yeah, it's very interesting. But hey, so far he's trending well. Just want to see him just get that uptick in usage, especially if Cat is kind of still struggling to get adjusted. And then I mean, look, I have to think the shots are eventually going to fall. It does still seem as though when they are have good ball movement, especially in the first half of these games. The shots just aren't there and they're not falling. And then, second half, when teams turn up the pressure, turn up the defense, that's when things kind of get bogged down a little bit.
For sure. And, you know, Mike Brown said it yesterday. We're gonna have to wait a while before we make any real judgments. But, the early thing is, well, you brought in a coach to revamp the offense, and the offense went from ranked fifth in the NBA last season, and now they're 20 something. I don't even know what they now. So, the early returns don't look as good as you hope. It is only 4 games.
Yeah.
So we do have to give this some time. We have to let it marinate. That's been the message from Mike Brown all along. I think that's true. I think it'd be unfair to say, well, this is totally a bust and we should
No.
revamp it again. I think they should try to work through a lot of these things, but I do think some tweaks to get Cat, more involved and get him in places where he can succeed. I think that should be on the table.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly there. So now they're taking on a undefeated Bulls team that is young. They're athletic. They got guns. What do you think about tonight's matchup, man?
Josh Giddey, man. Everybody was killing that trade.
And the
He looked
extension? Got the
good.
extension?
He got the extension, and now listen again, 4 games. But if he keeps playing like this, that extension looks very good for the Chicago Bulls. I think they have a good coach who wants to run and gun. He's shown that he's going to play that way in Chicago, and right now it's working out, even though Kobe White's hurt. This is a big test for the Knicks. It's an NBA Cup game. It's a home and home because they got Chicago and the Garden. So, yeah, I mean, the Knicks are probably faced their biggest adversity so far. They're in a 2-game losing streak. I think it's a big game for them to bounce back and a big opportunity for, some good vibes going back home.
Once again, we are talking to Stefan Bondy, Knicks insider for the New York Post. Salutes everybody in the chat. Hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe to the channel. Halloween Friday, October 31st. Knicks will be taking on the Bulls tonight, and then they will be at the Garden on Sunday in a home and home game against the Bulls. Now, in your article, or one of the articles you dropped earlier this week, Phil Jackson, new book dropping on November 4th, Mastermind, as it's called. And you dropped a couple of excerpts in your New York Post article in which Jackson throws Melo under the bus. Melo's been having a rough week. But Jackson throws Melo under the bus and blames him for his early departure from the Knicks with 2 years left on the deal. You were there during those times.
Yep.
What'd you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's not surprising. This is something that, he obviously went into a little bit more detail in the book. And
Yeah.
I want to make people understand this isn't a Knicks book that's coming out. This isn't recounting his time with the Knicks. This is 75 chapters of going through the greatest 75 players in the NBA history and Phil Jackson discussing each one of them. And when he gets to Carmelo, he decides to kind of dump on him, right? So that's what happened. And so, yeah, it's not surprising. I think Phil came in, he has an ego. He thinks the triangle is the greatest thing since sliced bread. He wanted to run it. Now, Carmelo could have embraced it better, I believe. He could have gave it a shot. He never really gave it a shot, despite what he might tell you. But listen, these were two guys that, what's the saying, fit a square peg in a round hole
Right.
kind of vibe. They just never fit. And so, I'm sure Carmelo will blame Phil, and Phil definitely is blaming Carmelo.
Yeah, and I'm with you. Carmelo is not blameless. Like Amari's comments earlier this week, he's not blameless. But the Phil's ego, to me, was the biggest factor in all of the failures with New York. And as you said, the book isn't about his tenure in New York, so maybe he didn't elaborate on those things. However, I mean, when we look back at some of these things, drafting Frank, Fisher, Rambis, Hornacek, and then with the whole Melo thing, which I didn't get as it was actively happening, you sign the guy to a no-trade clause in the extension. Then you're going through Charlie Rosen that takes shots at the guy through the post, and then you're trying to trade him. I mean, the logic, the ego, the arrogance, Phil, all his moves and all of his actions, his comments during that time, signal to me that this guy, one, didn't understand the business of being the president of basketball operations. Two, was just here for a bag. And three, he was just not a competent president of basketball operations. And it was a lesson to be learned in that greatness in one area of the game does not translate always to another area. Jordan showed that. Magic showed that. Phil showed that.
I can't argue with anything you just said. And listen, like I said, it wasn't an extensive look back at his Knicks period, but he coincidentally, not coincidentally, didn't bring up Joakim Noah. One of the worst signings ever. You know what I mean? So he doesn't take blame for a lot of the things that he was directly responsible for. He did mention Frank Ntilikina, but otherwise, he blamed the whole Kristaps thing on Kristaps's brother. It's always somebody else's fault.
Yeah. I mean, Frank is no longer in the league. He trades Timmy for Jerry and Grant, who I liked at the time. I liked it on paper. I liked the thought process. We were starving for a point guard. Not even in the league. He trades Tyson for pennies on the dollar. Jose Calderon, Samuel Dalembert. I don't even remember Dalembert played more than 2 games for the Knicks, right? Shane Larkin and all of this. And then, the one I hated was trading JR and Shump for damn near nothing and then seeing them win the championship right after that. I mean, that was like a knife to the chest, man. It was crazy.
Well, I mean, it all goes back. The one move that to me, it goes back to, and listen, Scott Perry did the same thing with his draft when he drafted Kevin Knox. But when you bring in Donovan Mitchell to work out the day before the draft, you see him work out, and then you still draft Frank Ntilikina. We can rightly question your ability to judge talent from an executive position.
Unreal. The force feeding of the triangle. I mean, like you said,
Kurt Rambis stuff was bad. Bringing him in kind of as a spy, everything was it was a bad vibes all the way around. And I think it speaks to kind of what the discussion relevant now today is. Do you cater a team? Do you cater a system to the players you have, or do you build a system? Or do you impose your own system on players that may not fit it? So I think the Knicks are going through some of that stuff right now. I don't think Mike Brown is nearly as hard-headed as Phil Jackson, but maybe the same discussion is brought up later.
Absolutely right. As we circle back to present day, those are the questions that Mike Brown is going to have to answer as they try to figure things out, and they've got to come to a middle ground. Yes, you can say that, do they have? You can question whether or not they have the athleticism, the ball handling, the playmaking to really maximize this thing. And if not, then he's got to find some middle ground to make sure that he's getting the most out of these players, because quite frankly, that's why he's here. And, a lot of Knicks fans, they know my thing with Draymond Green. I think he's a piece of crap. But however, one thing I don't question, when he's hating, I call him out and I throw him in the garbage. But when he's dropping basketball knowledge, I'm not gonna. You can't argue that. He's a savant. He's got 4 rings, and I thought it raised eyebrows when he said, "I think that offense can be stifled." We're seeing it now. His comments on Cat. Forget the Dodge and Jimmy stuff. That was classless. But the other stuff, I agree with.
Okay.
I agree with, man.
Well, I think see, here's my problem with taking what Draymond, what he says about the Knicks is it's personal with Cat for whatever reason. And when he's talking about, I think he had a comment in there that said something like, when guys don't want to play defense. Remember?
Yes. Yep.
Who's he talking about?
Of course. Talking about Cat.
It's personal. And I think if I remember correctly, when he was supposed to go on your show, didn't he duck out?
Oh, of course. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
So
Yeah.
he's running from the smoke,
He
bro.
ran. Oh, he ran from the smoke. Absolutely ran from the smoke, man. So but that's history. That's the past, man. But
Yeah.
anyway, man. Hopefully we'll get the dub tonight. Safe travels back home when you leave out the Shy, man. Stay out of the streets, man. Stay out of Chirac. Don't go exploring too much, man.
On Halloween, bro, might get crazy out here.
On Halloween, there's a lot going on in the world, man. A lot of forces going on out there. So anyway, man, great job as always, and we appreciate the time.
All right, man. Thanks for having me.
Yep, anytime, man. All right, that was our guy, Stefan Bondy, of course, Knicks insider for the New York Post, man. Salute to everybody in the chat. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Like, share, and subscribe. What do we think? I don't like Draymond either. I'm with you guys. I'm not a big Draymond Green fan at all. I'm not a big. I can't stand the guy. But, especially when he's talking, hey, I think the offense and Mike Brown is taking some of that Golden State offense with them. We gotta figure this out. And it's early. I'm with everybody on the fact that it is very early. So I'm not panicked after the 2-2 start at all. I'm rocking with my team, hella high water. You guys know that. And it's the fifth. We're entering the sixth game of the season. Mama said there'd be days like this. I thought, one of the things I questioned, why this is why my win total, and this can all change. This is my win total was a little bit lower, especially it wasn't the 60 that a lot of people thought, because I thought there's going to be growing pains in the beginning, getting used to a brand new offense. And not only are they getting used to a brand new offense, but they're trying to get healthy. They didn't experience that in the beginning of the season last year. It was only Mitch and Deuce to a certain extent that wasn't there. So you got new players, new system, new injuries. Take time, man. Now, I'm going to be interested to see how they play tonight. Because Chicago's coming in 4-0. They're coming in like gangbusters. And, we're going to have to see how they respond out the gate. But one thing that was interesting that Jalen Brunson had said, and Steph talked about it with Josh Hart. Jalen Brunson mentioned the fact that Hart it seems like he's kind of taking in the opinions of the fans to heart a little bit. No pun intended. So it's just like, man, bro, like stay, and these are young guys. They got the podcast and all of that. You can't really tell them to stay off of social media. This is the life of our generation. This is what we do. We scroll and we scroll and we scroll. And Josh is a guy, he engages with the fans and all of that. So, but according to Jalen, it seems like it's kind of getting to Josh. I mean, this was the quote right here. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe to the channel. This was from Steph's article. This is from the captain, Jalen Brunson. This is one thing he does in terms of Josh Hart. When he's locked in, he's working. Says when we get back to it, it's just not listening to outside noise. When we get back to that, it's just not listening to the outside noise. The fans are talking or whatever, and it's impossible not to see it, but who gives a crap? People are going to say what they want to say regardless of if we're playing well or not. Well, the thing is, it's easy for the captain to say. It's easy for Brunson to say because he's shown so far in his time with the Knicks that he is very mentally focused and mentally tough. You cannot shake the captain. You cannot. You cannot rattle him. He's going to do what he does regardless. But Josh, on the other hand, it's a tricky fit. I'm not bailing on Hart, man. I don't like the conversations around Hart, man. We gotta rally around Hart. We need Hart. He's a glue guy. Still, we can't forget that. He is a glue guy. So let's remember that, especially when it comes to Hart. What do you guys think in the chat, man? Hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe to the channel. All right. Great show, man. Great flow. Shout out to everybody on the KFTV side. Shout out to everybody on the NBA Report side. Shout out to the Rhyme Animal Chuck D. $10 super chat on the NBA Report side says that ego comes, talking about Phil Jackson, that ego comes when you're filled to the gills with championships. Great point. Success does that to you. He shouldn't have taken the job. Absolutely agreed. And but we fans should have anticipated that ego coming from Phil Jackson. Yeah, I think so, Chuck. But I also think that we were so desperate during those times, man. To find it's our savior complex. It's our savior trauma. Whether it's player, it's coach, it's GM, we're always looking for that silver bullet to fix all of the problems with this team. So even when the rumors were building up about Dolan courting Phil and Isaac Azoff and those guys and brokering the deal and, Dolan and Phil meeting at the barbecue and gauging the interest, there was always that like allure, like, oh my God, can Phil, the Zen master, all the rings, can he change our fortunes? So I get it. Yeah, you certainly, the ego part, certainly I agree with. I just feel like in the beginning, speaking from my perspective, I was willing to overlook the ego and overlook even the inexperience that he was bringing to the job because of the cachet and the resume that he had. It was the prodigal son coming home, the 70s championship, and he's going to bring that in the ball movement. He's going to bring the rings that he won with Jordan, the rings that he brought with Shaq and Kobe, and he's going to turn this thing in. There's only one problem. He needed the players to buy in. And Melo certainly deserves some of the blame there. It's hard to be coached, hard to play with. His own ego got in the way. And he had the clash of bulls. Clash of bulls, no pun intended. Especially they got Chicago tonight and they better win. So he had a clash of bulls. Let me shout out some of our sponsors of today's show, man. Shout out to our sponsors at DraftKings. Hey, listen, man, all of your favorite NBA players are back in DraftKings Sportsbook. An official sports betting partner of the NBA is the place to be and the place to bet on NBA stars this season. New customers for you guys at home. Bet $5 and get 3 months of NBA League Pass plus $300 if your bet wins, paid out in bonus bets, and that's using our code KFTV. So you go to DraftKings.com or you download the DraftKings Sportsbook, use our code KFTV, bet $5 and get 3 months of League Pass plus $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, pass-through of per wager tax may apply in Illinois. Now, 21 and plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win. Your bet's got to win to receive the bonus bets, right? And it expires in 7 days. Minimum odds required. NBA League Pass auto renews until canceled. Additional terms at dkng.co/audio. All right, once again, this is a limited time offer. And also, we want to shout out one of our other sponsors, and that is Wayfair, man. Every style, every home. Shout out to our guys at Wayfair for endorsing our show and sponsoring our show. And listen, with the holiday time coming up, Wayfair has a ton of household items and furniture for you guys to decorate your home with the season's greetings, okay? So make sure you guys go to wayfair.com, check out the entire collection because they have a large amount of items over the summer. I purchased a lot of patio furniture and my grill from Wayfair, but now they've got the holiday decor. So whether you have bedding needs or you want to update your kid's room, you got some home decor, kitchen, living room essentials that you want to get, Wayfair is the place to go. All right, so get organized, refreshed, and ready for the holidays for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Okay, let me shout out some more people in the chat before we go. Okay, Zach, I see Will Latimer. Let's go. Shout out to Rich 4 MVP, Rich Miranda. I see you in here. Who else? We got Melo Mike always in there. Shout out to Melo Mike. And who else? I hope I didn't miss any super chats on the KFTV side. Hooper, we'll take calls tonight. I got a little technical difficulties on the Discord for right now, but we will get that addressed and fixed by by post game tonight. So now for the Chicago game, CK2K will be on deck for play-by-play. So make sure you guys tap in there. And then myself and Alex will be ready to go post game live, highlights, analysis, caller reactions, the whole 9 yards. You guys know the deal. All right, so there it is. Happy Halloween. I got to go set up the candy for the kids now. You know, it's Halloween. I have to, last minute, have to run to CVS, go get some stuff. So, got to go set up the candy bowls. Leaving them outside, man. Don't ring my doorbell, man. I ain't trying to answer the door 50 times. So, I don't know what you guys do at home, what the fellas do at home. I just dump it all in a bowl, put it outside, do what you do. And when it's gone. Bring your bowl back inside, and that's it. I'll be ringing my doorbell, talking about trick or treat. I ain't answering. Stephen Gomez. Oh, when we get in the KFTV bucket hat. Good idea, man. I'll look into that. Shout out to you, Stephen Gomez. Shout out to you. Once again, shout out to our sponsors at DraftKings and Wayfair. And great show earlier, man. For you guys on the KFTV side, head over to the NBA Report and make sure that you like, share, and subscribe, man. We're trying to build that up. We had a great show earlier talking about the Wemby experience. Victor Wembanyama leading the Spurs to a 5-0 start. And shout out to my guest, Alan Slewa, who came on to talk about the Lakers and the red-hot Austin Reeves. All right, so make sure you guys hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe to the channel. And JJ said they dumping the whole thing in the bag. Yeah. You know, you got to leave that little note like, take one, I'm watching. But I'm really not watching. I just don't want you ringing my doorbell 100 times. So I ain't answering. I ain't got time for all of that. All right? All right, man. See y'all later. Great show. Thanks again for the support, man. Shout out to the family. Shout out to Stefan Bondy for joining us. And we'll see you guys next week on the NBA Report side. See you tonight on KFTV. #1 shows for the fans, by the fans. Peace.